And welcome back to Beer Fueled Fantasy Football. Day 2 of the NFL Draft is on the docket. We're going to talk about rounds 2 and 3, figure out where all these players landed, what type of draft capital is put into them, and talk to you about how we're kind of perceiving their value shaken out over the first couple years of their career. We are at Beer Fueled FF on Twitter. Individually, I'm at Nick Sparts. Dan Thury's across the table from me.
At Thury BFF, somehow still wearing blue after 2 days.
Christopher Hopper.
I was waiting for you to introduce me. At Hot BFF with 2 Ps.
You looked like you were about to just say something. You're just sitting there like,
no.
I got something I got to say.
Nope, I don't.
If you want to see us on live or on video recorded, go to Beer Fueled Fantasy Football on YouTube. You can subscribe to us there. One last shout out to everyone who watched us on day 1 of the NFL Draft live, talking about all the picks and playing some drinking games. Something we're going to continue doing year in and year out. So if you subscribe, you can catch that next year in 2019.
Yep, second straight year for that I've been on call too. So I'm hoping the third one that doesn't happen. But
Got to check those dates and switch it around earlier next year.
I got my fingers crossed. I'll do it all year long.
But we'll try to work out some
That'll make
technical
your job real
difficulties. That'll continue to get better. Let's go into a beer preview.
Okay.
Stealing Nick's job here.
Sometimes you gotta.
How do I work the soundboard?
Where's soundboard Nick?
I'm not sure there's soundboard Nick on the new soundboard.
I still have the drops. I can put them on there whenever I want.
I just meant you don't have it up and ready to go.
I don't.
So we've got Oskar Blues on for the second time. Longest gap we've ever had between a brewery being on. It's been about a 120 episode gap. They're out of Denver, Colorado. We have their Fugli. It's a yuzu and ugly fruit IPA. That's a Japanese and Jamaican style citrus fruit. It's a New England style IPA, and we'll give you a full review once we get through the second round.
Indeed. Yeah. Draft recap.
This is so crazy. Woo! Yeah.
This is BFFF dropping its next track.
Oh my god.
Oh, man.
We try.
All right.
Kind of.
Keep an eye out for more of that as we move on.
All right, so up first, round 2. The first skill player taken was Nick Chubb to the Cleveland Browns with the third pick in the second round. Landing spot was generally one we thought we might see Barkley go to. When that didn't happen, we thought they may hold off on running back, so they kick it off immediately at the start of round 2 by taking Nick Chubb.
So I don't hate the landing spot. I don't love it. It is going to move him down for me because Carlos Hyde's there, and I think the best you can hope for is split back work, and you're going to have Duke Johnson there to handle the receiving work. Now, Duke Johnson being there doesn't concern me as much. Nick Chubb wasn't much of a receiver in college anyway. You'd ideally like to see somebody be a 3-down back, but more and more you see NFL teams that, are doing this type of configuration. But Carlos Hyde being there does concern me because Carlos Hyde can do both. So, and he's also kind of a bigger back. So you've got two guys that were kind of cut from the same cloth here.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. They technically have an out on Hyde after this year.
Yep.
So 2018, definitely lower those expectations for Chubb. Do not expect a year 1 starter outside of an injury to Hyde.
Yeah, that, or if he just comes in and Hyde struggles and he really takes off and then Hyde loses work, which is another thing you could see. I mean,
we could see that, but Hyde's good enough that I don't expect that to happen.
I don't either. Injuries more likely given his track record. Duke Johnson is a UFA after the season as well. So, I mean, really, you're looking at not much from the first year of Nick Chubb, and he could have the backfield to himself the second year.
I think that might be likely a chance. I mean, there's been rumors that Duke Johnson's been asking for more money than they expected. So they may not bring Duke Johnson back. Duke Johnson leaves. They maybe draft, day 3, pass catching back, and then Chubb has the backfield to himself. I don't know if they'll cut Hyde. Hyde's, cap save is only $2 million next year. It's the one in 2020, which would make more sense.
I mean, either
to him if they cut him. But at that point, they're not really losing much, even if they cut him this year.
I mean, they'd save about $4.6 million. So if they decide that Chubb's the guy, they'll probably get rid of Hyde at that point.
There's no reason to keep him then.
The other big thing that I made note of here is that even with Duke Johnson there. Crowell did have 42 catches last season, so Hyde and Chubb could both still see passing down work on this team. I'm not quite sure how much and what the split will be between them, but if Chubb shows himself as a pass catcher, he may get work there.
Yeah, he may. I don't know. I'm just concerned about them eating into each other's workload with Duke Johnson there. It's not like an Ingram Kamara situation where you can usually feed 2 mouths, but once you get 3, you're almost feeding too many.
Yeah, like this is great for teams that already have an established roster. This is in terms of fantasy. You can get Chubb for probably cheaper than he would be, pre-draft now.
I'm not seeing him at the 103 anymore.
No, he's dropped, but he hasn't dropped far. 104, 105. I've still seen him between the 103 105 range.
I've seen a few mocks that have happened since the second round that he went 106.
Yeah,
which is still good because then you're still, middle of the road team, or maybe you traded for it, but whatever it is, this looks to be a payoff in year 2 instead of his rookie year.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's what I had written down. I think this is a year 2 payoff. But you may get some productivity as a rookie year, so
he makes steal goal line work from him. I mean, he's a big back.
Hyde was not a great goal line back.
Hyde also can't stay healthy. I mean, he had 1 year last year. It was his only year. I think he played all 16 games.
Yeah, and Chubb's only injury history was the terrible knee tear. It was a terrible injury, but he doesn't really get dinged up otherwise.
So I think he's back from it. So.
All right. Second skill player to go in the second round was Ronald Jones to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, one of the most highly regarded landing spots that running back could go to, and an earlier pick than I think we were expecting for Ronald Jones.
It was, but this is going to jump him majorly for me. He's going to be one of my biggest moves ups just because, I mean, you've got Barber, who I don't believe in, but he can be kept or cut for no hit this year. He's an RFA after the season anyway. He's going to immediately have a chance at playing every down. He can do that. He showed in college he can do that. He's added a little bit of weight. You'd still like to see him put on about 10 more pounds before training camp. And if Tampa Bay, tells him to do that and he does that, then yeah, I think he's got a chance at being a 3-down back here and being a 3-down back out of the gate.
I mean, if he can even get to 213, 215, that would be great.
Yeah.
The only other guy there is Charles Sims, who is a barely passable pass catching back. That's all he is.
Yep. And I think they still got Jaquez also.
They do. As long as they use Jones as it's going to be, how many touches is he going to get year 1? How does his knee holding up and shit like that. This could end up being like the CMC situation. If they don't believe in him as an in-between the tacklers runner, then they'll have to draft a power back.
But sure as hell looks like he can be an in-between.
Yeah, he's a lot better than what we expected CMC to be. So there's a lot more upside to that. And just like Hopper, Jones is moving up my boards. The thing is, between him and CMC, Jones didn't show out to be a pass catcher in college. They just didn't use him that way for some reason.
He apparently looked decent at his pro day catching passes.
And that's what we hope for, so we'll see what happens just with all this offensive use. But Jones is going to be one of the more popular backs being drafted.
If he can catch passes, he's going to get used that way because this is a team with a great passing game set up now. They got 2 great tight ends in Brate and Howard. They added Watson to Evans, Godwin, Jackson, and Humphreys.
I was so upset.
We'll get to that landing spot in day 3, part 1. But yeah, they added another highly touted pass catcher.
Yep.
So this team, Ronald Jones should be seeing some of the lightest boxes in the NFL.
5 to 6.
Yeah, they are stacked.
As long as that offensive line can hold up and Winston can do some checkdowns to him. Yeah, definitely.
That would have been the only thing I would have liked to have seen is them put a little bit more investment in the offensive line. But they're starting to fix their defense too, which may help them turn more to the running game as well.
Yeah, but another thing on Ronald Jones that I think keeps him on the field is for his size, is actually a better pass blocker than you would think.
He's a good pass blocker.
So
I agree with that.
I think that's going to keep him on the field, and I think that he is one of 3 guys that I can look at and say, okay, yeah, they and I'm pretty certain they're going to get 3-down work.
I'm not the biggest fan of Jones.
Barkley and
Freeman.
Yep, we'll get to.
I'm not the biggest fan of Jones, but I love this spot. So
yeah,
just can't hate.
This is one of those where it's like, you know what, flat landing spot matters.
Exactly, it's all about the shares.
I see an immediate path to success for him, and he was highly touted enough that even though I had him faded slightly because I didn't expect him to go in this type of situation and this early, I'm going to adjust accordingly.
Right back up.
Yep. Yeah. All right, Cortland Sutton goes to the Denver Broncos with the 8th pick in the second round. So it's a real high investment for him early in the second round here, but it's a terrible immediate landing spot for him.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions here. Sanders was using the slot some last year, and ultimately, I think that's probably their best deployment configuration right now. to get Sutton on the field, to get Sutton on the field year one is you put Sanders in the slot and you let Sutton and Thomas work the outsides. It kills Carlos Henderson though.
And that's the question: is that do they move Sanders to the slot and then have Sutton outside, or do they have Henderson in the slot, Sanders outside, and then Sutton just gets rotational work?
Right, and that's the risk that you take here with Sutton and why he's faded to 2, maybe even 3 for me.
You think of moving Gallup in front of him?
I'm considering it. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it yet just because of the long-term outlook. They're real close for me right now, though. And it's because he could be like Nick Chubb, just another year 2 guy. They've got outs on Sanders and Thomas at the end of the season to where they can cut one and or both of those guys. So, and you could also look to trade one of them, too, midseason if, Anita rises and, Sanders rebounds or a team really needs Demaryius Thomas, you could look to do that. The other thing that concerns me here, though, is they did nothing to address the future of their quarterback situation either. So even though they're going to have pieces, they may be missing the most important piece.
Yep, there's no guarantee that they have...
Win for Chad Kelly, though.
Yeah, they
Oh,
have,
my God, I know, right?
They have nobody on the team after... outside of Keenum for the next 2 years, basically, unless Chad Kelly is way better than everyone was projecting him to be.
I mean... Chad Kelly was an idiot, but I don't think his talent was terrible. It was a lot like the Antonio Callaway thing, just with a quarterback.
But I mean, he was still Mr. Irrelevant, so enough teams didn't peg him as worthy of higher draft
the field
capital.
issues were
Yeah,
and his health
I don't
issues.
disagree.
Yeah.
But he's gonna massively overperform his draft capital if that happens.
Yep, he will. But enough about AK-47. Back on Cortland Sutton, though, I think that you can't fade him too much. You can probably fade him behind Moore. You can make an argument. You're definitely fading him behind Moore. You could make an argument for fading him behind Gallup. I still haven't decided if I'm going to do that yet or not. But this is something that could pay some dividends in year 1. But likely you won't see the full payoff until at least year 2 and beyond.
I will say I do have to. I'm props to John Elway for my Sutton to Demaryius Thomas comparison, where obviously he was just drafted to be Demaryius Thomas's future replacement.
I think he is.
So thanks Elway for making me look smart.
I think that's exactly what he is. And then they drafted. Was it Hamilton later?
Sean
on?
Hamilton.
Deshaun Hamilton is the
Deshaun
Sanders.
Hamilton
in the
is the
fourth
Sanders replacement. Yeah. So they got some succession planning going on in Denver.
And they also have Carlos Henderson.
Yep.
I
In
mentioned
the wing
that.
from last year.
Who may be dead. I have no idea.
Yeah, he's kind of disappeared since he got a hand surgery, and then we never heard from him again.
No, and then they went out and drafted 2 well-regarded wide receivers that really makes you wonder.
This might be a good 3
Although
receiver set.
it could be a very good 3 receiver set down the road because it looks like if all 3 of those guys pan out, they're set up for a while.
Yeah.
Set up for a long time.
Yeah.
Yep. Now they just need to get a long-term answer at quarterback to throw him the football.
Yep.
Moving on to pick 210, Mike Gesicki goes to the Miami Dolphins.
This is
Love
one of
this
my
pick.
favorite things that happened.
Yep. And they also added a second tight end later, which was a perfect compliment.
Yes, they did. They absolutely hit this one out of the park.
So after all how much I screamed about them during free agency, I like their draft a
They had
lot.
a great draft.
Yep. He is tight end 1 now because Goddard did not land in a good spot.
No,
so.
he did not. So, and I don't think it's close.
No, he's in his
it's
own
not.
tier. I moved Goddard out of that tier 1 with him because he's going to be blocked for
Several
who knows how
years.
long.
Yeah. So Gesicki landing in Miami, they needed a tight end. They have literally nobody there.
Yep.
One guy whose name I had never even heard of.
I think I have it written down.
I don't remember his name at all. Either way, Gesicki's going to come in. He's going to be, and a lot like Evan Ingram, immediate work.
Yep, they have all the targets vacated from Landry leaving. Adam Gase traditionally likes using tight ends, including his 2 years with Julius Thomas in Denver, where he put up 24.
Yep, and Zach Miller in Chicago.
Yep, and Zach Miller in Chicago. He's the only good receiving tight end on the roster right now. Their Jarvis Landry replacements were Danny Amendola and Albert Wilson, who I do not have a lot of confidence in. So if you're looking for a guy for possibly be a year 1 breakout at tight end, he is the one.
This year's Evan Ingram. Like he's gonna just get enough targets. Like even if he's not truly great with them, just like Ingram was last year, he's gonna probably find a way to produce. Especially if guys like Amendola, who's always hurt, gets hurt.
And I mean, they need another inside of the Hash's weapon for Tannehill. He loves throwing the ball there. I think Gesicki's the heir apparent.
I think he is too. I think Gesicki's going to come in and produce, and I think that with the glut of mess that tight ends is, this is a guy that you're drafting, relatively high in redraft as far as tight ends go.
Yeah, he'd probably be
It's a good
tight end
round.
10 to 12 for me,
Yeah,
probably.
yeah.
Like he's
Just
a good
because there's a lot of
upside.
question marks. But
He's going to be a great upside pick.
He's got nobody to compete with him either.
yeah, and if he doesn't flash for you or he doesn't turn it on year one, you kick him to the curb.
Yep.
But for Dynasty,
For Dynasty, absolutely. He's
There's a-
early to mid-second.
Yeah. Especially with some of the crappy landing spots that these running backs and wide receivers ended up in.
Yeah, the wide receivers, I think, are really going to fall back, and that's where Gesicki moves up.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, on to pick
Speaking of running backs,
211. Kerryon Johnson goes to the Detroit Lions. It was higher than we expected him to go, so that gives us some confidence. It's the highest draft pick the Lions have put in a running back since Javad Best. So it looks like he's going to be the heir apparent here, but he is still sharing a backfield now with Abdullah, Riddick, Washington, Blunt, and Green.
so Dula can be cut this season for $320,000. He's a UFA next season, so I think they keep him this season. They don't necessarily have to give him carries. It's not like he's been effective with them. He's not a guy that like LeGarrette Blunt, who has been traditionally effective and earned his carries.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about that too much. Riddick's likely going to hang around. They would only save $2 million to cut him, so he'll likely hang around until the end of his deal, at least. But he's got his own role, and Kerryon Johnson is more of a type who can pass catch, but he's better. He's also between the tackles. He's like poor man Sony Michel, who I think may end up maybe in a better spot than Michel and actually produce more than Michel.
Oh, look at that. A Belichick coach drafted almost the exact same type of running back.
Yep.
I think Johnson was brought in to be the Deion Lewis role. I expect less work, though, than Michel's going to get. I projected him for about 160-ish carries with probably 30 targets.
Yeah. I don't know.
That seems
Seems
fair.
low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's tough because
It's on the low end of fair for me. The Blunt deal is 1 year also. So.
I mean, the main reason for that, the last 2 years in the Jim Bob Cooter offenses, only 420 total touches to running backs between targets and carries.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it could be.
I think Abdullah's dead. And
I think they try to trade him. I think he's
I'm surprised he didn't
someone
get
might
moved
try
during the
to.
draft.
He might be
Yeah.
I think he'll get traded at some point this offseason, or not just flat out cut. Like even if the dead cap's not a lot, they might just cut him anyway.
it's another year 2 payoff potentially though, because Abdullah's a UFA next season, and so is Blunt.
And Washington, too, I think.
Yeah. So
If they can start pairing out some of those bodies, that's where Johnson's value really starts to rise.
Yeah.
which looks like it's.
I mean, as of right
Next
now,
season.
he's still back end of a first-round pick for me, though.
Oh yeah, absolutely, because he
Yeah.
landed in a spot where he's going to get at least some year 1 work, and year 2 outlook looks great because I don't see a scenario where they re-sign Amir Abdullah, and I don't think LeGarrette Blunt comes back.
There wasn't enough receivers that were going to jump him.
No,
Johnson was always a back end first round pick, and that's not going to change because there wasn't enough receivers to jump him. Maybe Gallup would be the only one.
I think he slid in front of some receivers, too.
He may have
did.
slid in front of some of the running backs that were going potentially around that same area. John Kelly was
Kelly would be the big
Kelly
one.
is the big one that's going to fall out of that.
Yeah.
All right. Dante Pettis, 212, goes to the San Francisco 49ers. This is a guy who also went earlier than I think a lot of people were
They
projecting.
also traded up for him. This is
And I have
huge.
no freaking idea what they're going to do here.
I think he's going to be their slot guy over Trent Taylor.
Yeah, I think so too. And if so, I like that value. But how many targets is he going to get in that slot from Jimmy Garoppolo?
Who's also going to be the outside. Like he might take
He can
more
play
good
outside.
ones role than.
They just re-signed Goodwin for 5 years.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
It'd be Garcon.
It'd be Garcon.
eventually.
And they do have an out on Garcon after this season if they want to take it. So, but I think ultimately he starts in the slot over Pettis, but
Over Taylor.
over
This is
Taylor.
Pettis.
Sorry, over Taylor. But then they took another guy also later on, didn't they? Or am I thinking of another team?
They did. I just don't know.
I don't
I don't
remember,
remember
being
who
a
it
big
was.
name, though.
Oh, it was Richie James,
Yes. Another
who's
slot guy.
also a slot guy.
Yes.
Yeah, so that might mean they're thinking of moving Pettis outside eventually. Garcon can also slide into the slot too, so those two may swap in and out.
So what do you think Pettis' viability is year 1?
Special teams for sure.
If he can, he's going to be the punt returner immediately. If he can, so in your return yard leagues, love him. If you're looking at a normal league, he's probably fighting for the wide receiver 3 spot, which puts him in the 4 to 6 target a game range, which probably puts him at about 80-ish targets on the season.
So for rookie drafts? Early second, late first?
Oh, yeah. He's probably going to be around 202 to 206.
Okay. That's what I was thinking also.
He moves upwards.
And I think that, the viability down the line is that once again, when people start to clear out.
Yeah,
they traded up for him. That was that's the big thing. They wanted Dante Pettis.
I mean, just based on what happened in the draft, a few of the guys who are going to fall out for me, like Lazard is dropping like a fucking rock. Washington's dropping. There'll be a few other people who move down too. Pettis is going to be one of the guys who moves up. He'll move up close.
I already had him wide receiver 7, so I don't know that he's going up a whole lot, but he'll go up some.
I had him closer to 10-ish, so he'll probably move to about 7.
He'll be a mid-second, mid to early second.
Yep.
But yeah, he and Miller are going to be real close to each other.
I think Miller.
I like Miller's situation more, which just depends on how Trubisky.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a bigger fan of Miller's talent.
Well,
too.
I mean, I love Miller, obviously, but it just depends how Mr. Trubisky.
I just don't know who I'd put after Miller other than Pettis. So
that's true.
That's where it comes for me.
Okay. Going to 215, we've got Christian Kirk going to the Arizona Cardinals. It looks like he is going to be heir apparent to Larry Fitzgerald's spot.
I couldn't wait to talk to you guys about this. I know I really couldn't. Do you guys think there's any chance Fitzgerald moves back outside this year to get Kirk on the field?
Just because I don't know that they have enough established weapons, and I think Kirk can be an immediate contributor, I think they probably have to.
I think they do too. And I don't know how well that works. I mean, Fitzgerald's still a great receiver.
Yeah. The only other thing I could see they do, they don't have anybody who I love at the tight end position. Like we kind of talk about RSJ because we think he's going to get targets, but maybe they go to strictly 4 wide receiver sets, and they run both out of the slots.
So more college,
almost
style.
A spread.
I mean, like New England did that for a long time, where they had either Hernandez or Gronk as a move tight end,
split out wide.
Fit out wide.
They could also run RSJ out wide too.
I don't think they have enough outside receiver talent to do that, though.
Yeah, it's because it's Chad Williams and Bryce Butler, right?
Yeah, and Bryce Butler's a guy that, and that's what you have to ask yourself in this one. This is going to be the big debate with Christian Kirk. Do they move Fitzgerald outside on one side, run Kirk in the slot, and then let Chad Williams and Bryce Butler fight for the other outside spot and J.J. Nelson? Or is Christian Kirk just a punt returner this year? But I think if the Cardinals are trying to get their most talent on the field, Christian Kirk does contribute year one. Fitzgerald goes back outside, and then it's a dart throw on Bryce Butler and Chad Williams on the other side. They spent a 3rd-round pick on Chad Williams last year, so
it's gotta be. They gotta move Fitz. You may see like more stacked sets where Fitz and Kurt will run on the same side, but they're kind of stacked together.
Or they may
Fitz can run out there where it's just whether or not they think Fitz can still dominate on the outside. And you have to think if they want to have both these guys out there. Kurt is big enough. He's not tall enough. I mean, he's only 5'11", 202, 205, I think.
I thought he was 210.
That would be
whatever.
I think Moore is 210.
I thought Kirk was also 210.
Kirk was 205.
He's a 5'11", 201.
Yeah. So I'm like, he's got at least
he's
this
thick
weight to do it.
Yeah.
It's just whether or not they want to. I mean, I'm sure they're going to use him in different ways. It won't
he's
be just
athletic enough. They'll move him around, but I think that Kirk is on the field, and I think he's in that 70 to 80 target range. And Fitz is going to get 110, 120, and then everybody else can fight for the rest of them.
This is a great landing spot. This is a great move after drafted Josh Rosen. Finally, one of these teams did it right. Draft a high end. You take one of your high end picks and use it on a playmaker to at least build with your quarterback in the future.
Yep. Kirk was my wide receiver 5. I think he stays there. He was over Ridley. I'm definitely keeping him over Ridley.
He's now bumped Ridley for me. I only had one spot ahead of him.
He was my 4, so
I had him over Ridley. Who did I have over him? I don't remember now.
Because the only people I had in front of him before the draft was Gallup, Sutton, and Moore.
There's going to be debates. I might move him ahead of even Sutton.
Yeah. No, he was my 4. Ridley was my 5. That's right. So, yeah, he's staying.
Yep, he's still going to be my 4, with him and Sutton being probably right next to each other.
I think we're all going to be pretty much the same.
I think the tiebreaker there is Sutton's long-term upside over Kirk's.
Especially if Denver can either bring in another veteran quarterback, just in case if Keenan doesn't work out, or if they draft one next year.
And I mean, I'm going to have both. I know I'm going to have both in the same tier just based on how they project now, which means with Kirk and Sutton, it's going to be, do you need to hit a home run and they're just swinging for the fences, or you just need a single?
Also, I just want to see how Arizona uses them.
Is your team built to compete and you just need to fill a spot, or are you just looking for the best player available because you're rebuilding? That's going to be the difference when drafting those two.
Yeah, do you need a difference maker,
great way to look at it.
Or do you need a guy who is going to be available to start as solid depth for years?
Yep.
All right, moving on to 217. Dallas Goedert goes to the Philadelphia Eagles.
The greatest troll work we have ever seen.
They traded up over Dallas to take Dallas, who Dallas wanted.
In Dallas.
In Dallas.
While David Akers completely roasted them before the pick.
David Akers was amazing.
Who may or may not have been drunk.
Okay, so on to Dallas Goedert. I've got to put it out there. They can cut Ertz after this season for $13 million or so in cap relief. They might need it. It's not going to happen. They're not cutting Zach Ertz. They're not going to find the cap
out is
relief
not
there.
2021. So
Yeah.
They're likely sticking with Ertz. Goedert comes in and it's going to be the combo Selleck and Burton.
Yep.
So he'll take both those roles, which puts him at about 50-ish targets with 400 yards and 5 touchdowns.
So if you're in a 2 tight end dynasty league, he's still worth it.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. If you're in a single tight end league, only when Ertz is hurt.
Yeah, only when Ertz is hurt. If you've got space, it's worth the dart throw. But Goedert's a person I think that either until Ertz's contract is up or he finds a second team, that unfortunately you're not going to see that talent get realized because he's going to be limited to Trey Burton, Brent Selleck work.
Yeah, he didn't derail the hype train. Philadelphia blew it up.
They did.
He's going to be Greg Olsen.
Yeah, he'll need a second
team. They'll work on his block and they'll make him a complete tight end. He'll move on, or they'll move on from Ertz.
That's a good comp because they had Desmond Clark whenever Olsen was drafted in Chicago.
Yep. So this is Dallas Goedert's a name you 100% should know. He's a guy you should be keeping track on, and if in a year or two you can buy him for cheap, get all over that.
Okay, so here's a question: is he worth being drafted in one tight end rookie drafts? Is he worth it?
How deep's your bench and taxi squad?
In 3 or 4 round.
It's a dynasty league, so you gotta think 25 plus bench spots, or not bench spots, but roster size. Probably a taxi squad in there.
25 plus with a taxi, yeah.
He's worth a taxi squad.
Yeah, I'll take him 3rd round in that scenario.
Yeah, and with the talent, he's still an early 3rd for me.
Yeah. Okay. Just because he is supremely talented, despite his landing spot being terrible.
He gets banged up he gets banged up a lot.
He gets banged up some, yeah.
So, I mean,
so you might get a game or two out of him every year.
Yeah, and
know your league rules, though. If once you pull somebody off the taxi squad, you cannot put them back, then...
That's pretty much every rule.
And that's pretty standard.
Even if not...
You're going to have to be careful about that.
Or you may have to expose him or something, depending on... There's all sorts of weird rules for taxi
He's still
squads.
worth being drafted.
Yep.
Yeah, he's absolutely still worth being drafted. He just drops out of that tier 1.
Yeah. No, I agree.
All right, Anthony Miller goes to Chicago at 219, also a little higher than I think people were expecting.
I've been building up this hype train. I fucking love this pick.
They traded up to get him.
And I love his landing spot.
So he doesn't have to be the number 1. Robinson is the guy. He gets to be the fight with Kevin White and Taylor Gabriel for the number 2, and I think he kicks their ass.
I think he does too. I think he
literally kicks their ass.
I think he is the number 2, and then he runs strictly out of the slot. I think that he's probably the 3rd target on this team behind the 2 tight ends, or behind Trey Burton and or Adam Shaheen, whichever one's on the field.
Well, I think with having Burton and Shaheen, I think they're going to run a lot of 12-man sets, so that would put Miller outside.
Yep.
And Miller, I'm fine with him running outside. I just think when they go to 3 receivers and either Gabriel or White's out there, that's when he'll kick to the slot.
Yep, I think so too.
Gabriel to the outside if they're playing wide receiver.
No, Gabriel's going to be an outside field stretcher if they're playing 3.
Okay.
And then you've got Kevin White / Javon Wims, who they took at the end of the draft, who are both big-bodied guys that
red zone guys
you may put out there in red zone sets. But Anthony Miller absolutely is the second wide receiver down on the Bears.
He has enough talent. He's enough great. The way that he runs. I mean, I've been comparing him to Steve Smith since I've watched his tape.
Yep.
He has the ability. And
Did you see that picture I sent?
Which one?
The one from the Bears Facebook account?
Yes.
Where they quoted him as saying he modeled his game
I was
after
like,
Steve
I've been
Smith.
saying that. He has the ability and the chance to even uptake the number 1 spot there. I mean, I love Allen Robinson. Let's not get it. But Miller's got that ability. This could be where Steve Smith came into the league with Carolina, where that an established receiver, I believe, there too. Mm-hmm. And then you just, just overtook that role.
They
But
had,
this is
they had,
great for Trubisky. either
Muhammad
way.
there, didn't they?
Yes, this is great for Trubisky's
Moose.
Yep. This is great for Trubisky's growth, and I love this landing spot. Like I hate it as a Vikings fan.
There's nothing
I don't
not
really hate
to,
it.
there's nothing not to like here.
Yep.
I'm rooting for him to succeed. I love Anthony Miller.
All right. The only other two things I want to point out is I would also love to see them run Miller, Robinson outside, and Cohen in the slot. I think that would be a real dangerous formation.
God, Jesus,
Man,
who do
did
you
I-
cover?
Yeah.
Good luck, folks.
And I love him paired with Trubisky, who's a significantly more accurate quarterback than Ferguson
And you
was.
got Matt
Uh-huh.
Nagy, who will
find ways to
He's
use
not
these people.
John Fox, folks.
Man,
He's
the
not.
Bears are going to be fun this year.
I've been saying it. They're my dark horse playoff team in the NFC.
All right. Moving on. The slide ends for Darius Geis at 227.
In the perfect landing spot.
Thankfully, he goes to a team where he can straight up win the job. He goes to the Washington Redskins.
He's going to win the first and second down job. You still got Chris Thompson, so he's not getting passing work.
I think he'll get some. He just won't
This
get
is like
a large chunk of
Fournette.
it.
This is like Fournette type of passing work, but maybe
Yeah.
not as much.
yeah, probably.
Thompson's going to be the third down guy.
Yeah, I would project Geis at 30
You
to
see
40
them both
catches.
on the field with Alex Smith there. Who knows?
I don't know why more teams don't do that when they have two of their best playmakers in being running backs.
Which is a lot of teams now.
Yeah, with so
Yeah,
much talent has
exactly.
come in the league these last few years.
I think Jake Gruden's smart enough to realize.
You'd fucking hope so.
You hope so.
Well, especially since they don't have a lot of talent outside.
Yeah. I mean, it's what Doxson, and that's about
But they got
it.
Trey Quinn.
Crowder.
Who is going to be blocked by
Mr.
Crowder.
Relevant. I don't
Yeah.
care.
All right. So I'm slightly concerned he slid this far, but I still love the talent. He's still my 102, but it's a significantly more tentative 102 than it was before.
He is my 102 also, but Freeman's like running on his heels, like giving him flat tires on the back.
I would say Rojo's getting up.
Rojo's
there too.
up there also.
I'm not concerned at all. I'm not. He slid because of off the field shit. It's already been coming out that who knows how much of it is true. I mean, look at the tweets that have been posted afterwards. Like Philadelphia was like, all the shit that was said about them wasn't true.
Hey, GM's bought it enough that they let him
I get
slide.
that. And Washington got their guy who they were talking about. even
Washington
in the first
probably
round.
put it out there so he would slide.
Exactly. I'm not concerned. Like he's going to
If
take that role.
If they did, good for them.
And props on Philly for coming out and saying, yeah, that was bullshit.
That was awesome.
So
Yep.
My Geis is still my 102 with a bullet. Not even close.
So the only other backs there, as we've mentioned, don't have a lot of in between the tackles skill. It's Kelly, P. Ryan, and Thompson.
Kelly and P. Ryan should, but they're not very good.
Yeah,
They're what Geis is, or
They're
they
what-
want to be what Geis is.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Geis is the better version of them.
Yes. Geis is P. Ryan that runs with the violence that P. Ryan should run with.
So I think
Exactly.
so. There's last year there was a 400 total touches to running backs in 2018. With Alex Smith coming in, I expect that number to even go up further.
Yep.
So I'm projecting at minimum 200 touches to Geis, and that's the.
I think more.
I think could easily
it's
hit
gonna be
250.
more.
Because Thompson can't stay healthy. He's proven that in the NFL. He's been banged up.
Though his 17 injury was a freak one.
I get it.
And to be fair, he was at that point carrying a much bigger workload than he normally would.
He was
also.
the only running back because they had no help from Fat Rob or from P. Ryan. Geis will immediately be the first and second down back. See all goal line work probably, and he'll have a chance because he is a pass catcher. He did it in high school. He did it in the All-Star game in high school. Obviously, that was high school, not college. But even on his pro day, he proved to people that he can be a pass catcher.
Yeah, he's obviously comfortable catching the ball.
yeah.
Yep.
He's not Chris Thompson. We get that, but
Yeah, so I
love Geis.
still fully expect 30 to 40 targets for him, which makes him relevant in PPR. Puts him, for example, better than a running back like Jordan Howard, who
I
can't
think
really
he gets
catch.
more.
Yep.
I think he gets more targets than that.
And then the offensive line, if it's healthy, should be pretty good. If we have a repeat of last year, it may all go up in flames again. But
if they all
Yep.
get hurt.
Yeah, I think they added some depth there, though,
yeah, and they didn't add any real big pieces, but they should at least be a little bit deeper this year.
which is what they needed. They didn't really need to add starters. They're fine as far as their starters go, but man, it went downhill in a hurry when your entire offensive line got hurt.
You
Yes,
also
it-
can't expect it to happen again either.
Yeah, well, and as soon as
That
TJ
was
Clemmings
insane.
sees the field, it's all
Your
over.
whole world sucks
And,
then.
yeah, TJ Clemmings was their, I think, second off the bench for offensive line. So
All right, 228. James Washington goes to the Pittsburgh Steelers, which I was already not a big fan of his.
Bad.
I think this is probably a decent NFL move, but it's
It's a great
terrible
NFL
for
move.
fantasy.
It's a great
it's
NFL
a bad move for the Steelers. I don't think they should have spent a second round here. They traded Martavis Bryant. I don't know if they think that James Washington's going to be a Bryant replacement, but if you're listening, Pittsburgh Steelers people, he's not going to be. He doesn't have that type of speed. He doesn't have that type of athleticism. He's not fast enough to burn NFL guys. He's not a good enough route runner to play out of the slot. And that positioning shit that he pulled in college isn't going to work against NFL cornerbacks.
I think he'll have. I'm not as bad. I'm not as faded on him, but I think he is going to be capped.
I think he's a
Early
flat-out
on-
bust.
And he could be. And there's a good chance he will be.
I mean, the issue is he's the most targets he's going to see behind Brown and Juju is going to be 80, maybe.
that's a stretch.
Yeah.
That's like year
stretch.
2, year 3. I mean, like you can like the fact that they drafted Mason Rudolph, which
Well,
we'll get to.
and I
early
meant like once he
sooner.
develops, it's going to be 80 probably.
Okay.
That's
makes
that's what
sense.
he'll grow into as long as Juju and Brown are there, which both of them are under contract at least through 2020. And I expect Juju gets re-signed for his deal when he's up.
They'll bring him back.
Brown, it technically is through 2021. He can just be cut after 2020. I mean, Roethlisberger goes away in 19. We don't know how good Mason Rudolph's going to be in the NFL. There's just a ton of question marks here.
Yep, left Bell, so you don't know if you're going to have that dynamic there. Tight end spot is still Jesse James is there, but it's not necessarily solidified.
I'm trying to
And then
agree-
James Washington, there's just so many questions with the skill set anyway coming out that, I don't like. I think that if it had been like Juju they were replacing, I might have felt better about it. But because it's Martavis Bryant that they drafted James White to replace, seemingly, I absolutely hate it.
I actually agree because I'm trying to now think why spend a second round pick on a player you barely used last year.
Yeah.
Where you could have drafted a speed outside guy like a DJ Chark who went late.
Next.
Who literally went one
Who
pick
who want
later.
the next pick?
Just kidding, but like you can draft a better outside speed threat who can maybe stretch the field more.
Yeah. NFL teams seem to be way more into James Washington than we ever really were. We didn't hate him, but we definitely were downplaying
We
his
see the
hype.
flaws because he played in a very simple offense with
Yep.
Oklahoma State, and he didn't run a lot of complex routes.
Hey, go deep.
Yeah, he does. He is going to slide.
Right?
He's not going to slide a ton for me, but I didn't have him that high to begin with.
No, because he'll see the field. So unfortunately, I can't slide him a ton. But I think I only had him at.
we were all fairly.
I had him
low
at
on
13.
For wide receivers.
Yeah.
He'll probably end up close to there. He's going to end up as an early third-round pick in my rankings.
Yeah.
He's worth it there.
He's worth that.
Yeah, and that's
the draft capital,
But not
there.
round one
Oh God,
where
no.
he was going.
yeah. It's not in any of our mocks.
No.
All right, last pick of the second round here, and we'll get to a beer review, is DJ Chark to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I don't know if I don't really like.
I don't
this
think I
pick.
like this.
No, I don't either.
So a couple of things I'll put in as positive before we get to all the negatives here.
Is there?
He comes in as the highest draft capital on the team who projects as a true wide receiver 1 in terms of frame and speed. Moncrief is only on a 1-year deal, who's kind of his closest comparable player. So
Because of size.
Yeah.
because of size and downfield
Size
threat.
Yeah.
and speed.
So Moncrief will be gone. Lee Westbrook and Cole are all kind of different type of players. So at least he's a unique build in this offense. Now, to the bad news, this doesn't really project to be a dynamic passing offense with the way they're trying to design this team. And it's kind of a question mark of how does he get enough targets with all these other mouths to
He
feed?
busts. I think he busts here. Like this isn't a good landing spot for him. It's like you just said, it's not a passing offense, and they already have similar, receivers potentially to that.
Moncrief and Westbrook especially.
You bring in Alan Lazard, who's a bigger receiver, that you can use in the red
That's
zone.
why I said I liked Lazard here as a UDFA because he's different.
Yeah, like I don't know what Chark's role is going to be maybe as a special team guy, but this is a second round pick.
No,
Why would you
they
do second
brought
round?
him in as a potential wide receiver 1.
Yeah, well, and I think it kills Moncrief. I think
It kills Moncrief.
it probably kills Moncrief, but I don't know. Moncrief ran a 4.4. Just for comparison, Moncrief ran a 4.4. Chark's a 4.34. Westbrook's a 4.44. Cole, slower, different type of receiver.
Well, Westbrook's also much smaller than both of them, isn't he?
Westbrook is tiny.
He's tiny.
It's like 180, 185.
Yeah, both Chark and Moncrief are both bigger.
They are. So, and you still got Lee there, though. So that's where you get into some of this. Okay, Westbrook's fast enough to be an outside guy, but he's more built like a slot receiver. And Marquise Lee is going to be the slot receiver. And so it's going to be Marquise Lee. You know what his role is. Mm-hmm. And then some mess of Moncrief, Chark, Westbrook, Keelan Cole. vying for the other 2 wide receiver spots.
Yep, and then Lazard is also there.
And
so.
Lazard is also there.
He's got to make the team.
He's a bigger, decently athletic receiver who's going to make the team. And you saw with Keelan Cole last year, the Jags, if you perform, even if you're a new UDFA, they'll use you.
Well, then there's
because that's exactly how Keelan Cole saw the field last year.
So.
There's an odd man out in this bunch. I don't think they're going to bring in 6-7 receivers.
No, somebody's not making it.
Yeah, and I think Moncrief will be the odd man out. This is going to be a way they spent on. This is a high draft pick they spent on him. They believe in him. They have to.
But before you continue, Moncrief's money's guaranteed. 0% chance he doesn't make the team.
It's $9.6 million guaranteed.
Yeah.
So there's a 100% chance he makes the team.
He's not there next year. I guarantee that.
Okay.
So I don't think Chark produces year 1 because I think so. Out of Chark, Westbrook, Cole. Well, never mind. I'm the only one that would even consider Cole for this out of the 3 of us. Out of Chark and Westbrook, who do you like more? Because we're high on both of them.
It's got to be Chark because of the size. Westbrook, you're just afraid because of the frame, and he's already been hurt a bunch.
Yeah, and he.
But Chark comes. I mean, like this is them saying, "Well, look at the Giants got a hit on."
And Cole is productive, and Bortles trusts him. So, who the hell knows?
That's on such a small sample size, though.
1 season. That's all he's been in the league, and then it was not.
And it was a kind of out of desperation.
It wasn't like 4 weeks, though. I mean, he was getting targets from week 6. He just wasn't getting.
Okay, so
they were missing their wide receiver 1 in Robinson. Lee was banged up on and off. Westbrook was banged up on and off. So, is he going to get that type of volume when everyone's healthy?
He did after Westbrook came back, and he did after Hearns came back, and Lee came back. Okay. So, yeah.
So the big question is, where are we drafting Chark? There's a high capital in him. Obviously, Jacksonville believes in him. Some point.
Ahead of James Washington, so probably late second.
Yeah, probably around 2.
Is he ahead of James Washington?
For me.
No, yeah, he's ahead of James Washington for me.
It's more because I know what Washington's going to be, which is going to be a headache.
And DJ Chark, I don't know what he's going to be, but I know what the metrics and the frame say that he should be. So
I don't want either of
wide
them,
receiver 3
sure.
deep threats are never fun.
No.
I'd rather.
That's what Chark ended up being.
I would take.
I don't want either of them. That's my whole point.
I almost guarantee I will own 0.
I'm going to own 0 shares.
No, I probably won't either.
Okay, but he's worth being drafted still.
But if I would take one, it's Chark.
Okay.
Yep. Beer review.
It is time for a beer review.
I think I need one after that.
Beer review.
All right, what did you guys think of Fugli Fruit IPA by Oskar Blues Brewery?
So there's definitely the fruit notes to it, which it says right on it that it's a fruit forward IPA. It's got some of the more like bittery, hot, like I don't know. It's not in your face bitter, but it's definitely there in the middle and as it finishes, and it's kind of the type of mid to end flavor that I'm not necessarily in love with. So I would rate this moderate to, average to above average though on my scale. I don't hate it.
I enjoy it.
I'm not in love with it.
I enjoy it. I can definitely drink a few of these. It's not very heavy.
It's not heavy.
It reminds me of Furious a little bit. To me, it does.
Like a fruity Furious.
Yeah, there is a hops and the bitterness to it that definitely give it that.
Yeah, and the bitterness is actually, it's weird. It's because most of the time it's either very hop forward or hop on the back. This is almost hop middle.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what it is. It's like middle.
But yeah, I think it's a pretty solid New England style example. It's not the favorite that we've tried because we've had a lot of New England style on recently because it's becoming a really popular type of beer. So it's not my favorite, but it's definitely a solid one. And the fruit flavor it has is very unique. I'm not familiar with yuzu and ugly fruit, which is apparently Japanese and Jamaican citrus style fruit. But it's definitely a unique flavor that I've never quite had before. So
yeah,
if you're looking for something
different,
real different, give it a shot. And Oskar Blues is big enough that you can generally find them in most of the western half of the country here.
Yep.
So if you're near or west of the Mississippi, you can probably get this. All right. Well, thank you so much, Oskar Blues, for being on. Let's hit up round 3, which will be much faster.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I think there's a lot more we agree with here.
Well, it's also 6 players.
Yep. Okay, let's go.
All right, 307. Royce Freeman goes to the Denver Broncos, also one of the best landing spots for a running back. This is right after they cut C.J. Anderson, who had 285 touches last year. I think Freeman comes in and probably takes 240 to 250 of those.
I think he does too. He can catch the ball. He's got good vision. He's a big body, so he should get goal line work. He can run. Devontae Booker is probably going to be relegated to the Jamal Charles role.
Yeah, and then Henderson will just be the change of pace guy.
Yeah, I honestly think Freeman gets about 250 touches and, bell cow level work, and, he is now probably the 103 behind Geis to me.
What was
maybe even ahead of Geis, because I guarantee you that because he's guaranteed passing down work.
Mm-hmm.
What was Denver's rushing, not rushing rank, but the run blocking? How did it kind of fall?
Per PFF, they were 23rd last year.
It needs to get better.
They had some injuries.
They didn't add anybody.
Yeah, and that's the issue because Royce, you can tell when Oregon's offensive line got worse.
He still produced.
Well, and the offensive line should have it a little bit of an easier time this year having Keenum as opposed to the mishmash of
and just
lost children they had last year.
Yeah,
and
that's probably the only fault you can see in this.
And Garrett Bowles should be healthy. He rolled up on his ankle midway through the season. He was a rookie last year, so you figure development plus health there. That'll help him.
A lot of it's going to be what Denver thinks of Devontae Booker and what they want to give him for work.
They went out and spent an early third on a running back, so you tell me what they think of him.
Yeah, well, it's an early third, so you can go in. I mean, it's good capital, but I mean, it depends what they feel in him.
Yeah, I don't
think you get a lot of work. I'm not saying that you won't. I'm just.
Yeah, I think Booker probably gets 120 to 140 touches, and then Henderson will be about 50 to 80.
Yeah, and that's fair.
Because there's going to be about 450 total between all three of them. All right, next pickup is Mason Rudolph to the Pittsburgh Steelers, which not great for his early looks outside of the game or two a year where Ben gets hurt.
Perfect for him. This is fantastic.
Bid wants to play a few more years, but he's going to have the chance to develop, and he's going to inherit weapons. They kept saying on ESPN, hello Mel Kiper, because that was the only choice I had to watch day 3, that you can teach arm strength because Drew Brees has got better. But I don't know that Rudolph's arm strength is what I question.
And you can tweak his arm motion that's probably as
to
much
try to
you're going
increase leverage.
That'd be about it.
You can tweak mechanics, but that's about it.
Yeah, because that's what they did for Drew Brees is they got his throwing motion improved, which kind of put more velocity on his ball. But
which is why it took him a few years to actually get.
Well, he's also dealing with a shoulder injury too.
True.
But yeah, Rudolph has some definitely red flags to him. At least by the time he starts playing, he theoretically should still have a couple good weapons there because both Juju and Brown should be there through 2021.
You got to assume Washington won't be there. I mean,
and Washington will be there.
And he's obviously got the chemistry with him already from college. I love this landing spot for him. I think this is fantastic. This is what I wanted for him to begin with.
And the one nice thing is because Ben misses a couple games pretty much every year like clockwork, so we should get a couple games of getting to see Mason Rudolph
it's
every
not
year.
Jason fucking Dobbs, or not Jason.
Joshua
fucking Dobbs now.
God, no, he's better than Dobbs. He'll at least be the backup. So there's that.
Yeah, I will say that I like Mason Rudolph more than I like Joshua Dobbs.
I do.
I can confidently say that.
I think you like anyone in this room more than Joshua Dobbs, Nick.
Yes, I agree with that as well. Probably one of the best landing spots in the draft here. Michael Gallup goes to the Dallas Cowboys at 317. I was hoping for a little bit more draft capital for him, but holy hell is the landing spot great.
242 available targets from last year.
Yeah, between Dez, Witten, Bryce Butler all leaving.
Yep, 130 of those-ish were Dez Bryant's.
Yep, I think a minimum of 100 targets go to Gallup.
Easy.
And it could be more.
And I think he fits Dak's game better than Dez ever did because he's more of a technician. He fights through coverage. He's a better route runner. He doesn't rely on raw athleticism because even though he was, better than we thought he would be at the combine, he's not the amazing athlete that Dez was, but he lands in a spot where there's absolutely going to be opportunity. He's going to see the field from day one. And he's got a pretty solidified future. It's a little bit more in a lower bust potential than what Sutton does.
Yep. So we've already kind of talked a little bit about how much we love him in Dynasty. He's easily the 3, and he might even fight for the 2 now in our wide receiver rankings.
Yep.
Where do you guys project him in redraft leagues with this landing spot?
Wide receiver, I think he'll be drafted as a wide receiver 3. I
think he finishes as a 2.
Yeah.
I projected him as a mid 3.
Where'd you take
draft?
Him? Round
I got to think about it. So that's
like
about
4,
wide
5,
receiver
6.
About wide receiver 30, which means probably about 70 guys off the board before I'm taking him, which puts him as that's late round 5, early 6.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
I can see that.
He'll probably go higher because I'm sure he'll get hype in training camp. And
We'll probably be helping that.
yeah,
He's a guy that I might reach for in redraft, maybe.
If I don't
depending on how the
get
first
him any
few rounds
dynasty
go.
leagues, yes, I will be
Yeah.
reaching
There's
for
a
him at least
very
one
good
redraft
chance-
league.
I want to share.
there's a very good chance that he'll finish as the top scoring rookie receiver this year. Moore will give him a test for his money. I think
it'll
Gallup,
be him or more, but I think
Yeah, those. Are the
I
only-
think Gallup has the better shot just because of less mouths to feed, like less trusted mouths to feed there.
I would say the 3 likely candidates for finishing as the top rookie. It's going to be Moore, Gallup, and then Kirk if they move Fitzgerald outside.
Yeah.
Those would be the 3.
Yeah.
All right, on to Mark Andrews to the Baltimore Ravens, which I would be talking so much good stuff about this pick if they hadn't drafted Hayden Hurst.
My first note on this is if it wasn't for Hayden Hurst, I'd love this pick because he was a pit of comp for me. I think he was a pit of comp for everybody.
And he's just good at finding soft spots in zones, which is when Flacco likes throwing to his tight end.
I'm honestly going to go out on a limb. I think he, despite draft capital, I still think he sees the field earlier and plays more than what Hurst does. I like his skill set more.
Just about to say that. I think
And-
he ends up being the more fantasy relevant receiver.
And he's 3 years younger, so he projects as a better long-term development prospect anyway.
Everything about this spot for him is great. And if it wasn't for Hayden Hurst, we'd be talking about him even supplanting Goddard as number 2 rookie tight end.
Yeah, he would be my number 2 if
Easily.
in terms of the ability to actually get some return on him.
He
at
might
some
even
point.
be because he's only being blocked by a 25-year-old rookie tight end.
I think because of draft capital, I use
Yeah.
draft capital as my tiebreaker between him and Hurst because they have the same landing spot, similar skill sets. I think Andrews' skill set actually might be a little bit better, but
I had
it was draft capital. That
There's
died
also
I had
right.
still-
Andrews ranked higher beforehand. So
There's also still 3 receivers to
I
feed
did too.
there, and
yeah,
the
I think,
countless running backs. And they throw a shit ton.
but
They still do.
yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't want Hurst or Andrews because they both went to the same team. But if I was taking one, I would probably try to grab Andrews because you can probably get him cheaper.
Yeah, the hype on Hayden Hurst is stupid.
Yeah, which
Why is it? I don't even understand.
we don't agree with
Shouldn't
it. Now, there's also plenty of haters too. He's very divisive. People either love him or really don't like him, and we're in that.
I don't know. I'm in the really don't like him category.
All right, we got 2 picks left in this third round here. Traquan Smith goes to the New Orleans Saints, where he should immediately become the wide receiver 3, and he'll probably project as the long-term 2 after Meredith
Just
leaves.
a great chance he becomes a 2 here. I think he meshes better with Thomas.
Yeah, I agree with you completely, and I think that it may force Meredith into the slot. Ted Ginn is the annoying guy that's just kind of in the way of everything that I want to happen here.
Yeah.
He can be cut for very little dead cap though, $2.5 million this year, $1 million next year, if they decide to cut him. But his contract isn't up until after 2019. But I think if Ted Ginn can just take a seat on the bench or something like that,
So-
Go be
that-
like Canada and just fuck off.
I don't expect Ted Ginn to go away this year, but I don't think he'll be back next year.
Yeah, and I think that Traquan Smith is an excellent replacement there. I think that Cam Meredith is still valuable there because he can run out of the slot or on the outside. Can Cam. So I think that Traquan Smith, Cam Meredith, and Michael Thomas are your future 3.
This is a fantastic receiving core for even post Drew. Whoever they bring in, whether it be a veteran, a quarterback, or a rookie draft pick. But
Well, and I was
This
going to
is
say
fantastic.
about Meredith too. He's only on a 2-year deal. With them drafting Smith, I don't think Meredith comes back after the 2-year deal.
and that's if he has to come back. He has to play up to his same par as he would.
Yeah.
Yep.
Before he got hurt.
And with the guaranteed money, they may cut him after 1 year too.
Yeah.
Meredith?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it may just be Thomas Smith, which that's kind of what Smith needs because last year only about 280 targets went to wide receivers in New Orleans. 150 of those went to Michael Thomas.
Yep.
So yeah, he really needs to take over
Smith
the 2.
is he's just a dark horse, deep league dart throw. I think. I believe in him a lot more than most people do. Well,
I mean,
I think
maybe-
he might be more
maybe-
than that.
I like him for Dynasty.
I love him.
I love him
I
for
love him for
I'm saying for
Dynasty.
just even for redraft.
Ah,
For deep leagues,
okay.
I don't see anything for a redraft.
for deep leagues,
There's too many mouths and not enough targets going to receivers.
So if we did another league like we did with the listener league where it was 16 team with an insanely deep bench,
I would.
you would
totally
make a throw
take him there.
Traquan Smith?
There's it'd be
We
one
don't
of
know
my
what
last picks.
We don't know what it's going to look like either from now until then. It's like There might be a guy who's might be. I'm not trying to yell.
We'll
at you.
adapt it as it happens.
No, I was going to say, if that happens, we can rediscuss and revisit this issue.
We can't predict the future.
I have a man
we can
crush
only
on
talk
Drake.
about what things are now. So
Yes.
I just have a man crush.
Yes,
on
we're
him,
just
that's all.
analyzing what is going on momentarily.
Until the next pick,
Yep.
who I hate even more. So
All right. 334, the last third round skill player was Jordan Akins goes to the Houston Texans.
fuck this pick.
this unfortunately requires attention now because it's Houston and they really don't have anybody not named Steven Anderson there. He did show some quickness and he could be a solid route runner. His future did look like it was more as a move tight end. And as one for Watson, that could work out okay. But Steven Anderson's the only guy there. So, unfortunately, if Houston's spending a third-round pick on a tight end when there's nobody else there, you have to pay attention to it.
That's why I'm upset because I have to. He's
Yep.
26 years old, ex-baseball player that didn't make it.
He's a converted wide receiver.
I feel like there's a lot of ex-baseball player thing going around here.
This year, I don't know why, but it is.
Trey Quinn threw a no-hitter in the Little League World Series.
Oh, good to know.
I think it was him. Somebody in this draft did.
I think it was him. I think
I think it was Trey Quinn.
I think you're right.
But yeah, so there should be between 120 to 130 targets going to tight ends. They were only at 100 last year, but that's with every tight end hurt. They literally were pulling people off practice squad to try to dress them as tight ends.
I mean,
I'm pretty sure they ran a hot dog vendor out there at one point.
So I'd expect an uptick in tight end targets with
Will there be though? They drafted Kiki Katui to be their
QT?
QT.
They saw Bruce Ellington. There's been a high draft pick in Braxton Miller. So obviously Hopkins and
Miller's
Will
basically
there.
washed out already.
Miller's washed out. Ellington
Is a guy.
Is a guy. QT is going to take the slot work, and we'll talk about that when it happens. But
Yeah.
I like him doing that slot role. But yes, I think that there's going to be tight end targets to go there because there were tight end targets last year.
I'm not saying
And
I don't agree with. I'm saying just how many targets are they going to go out to the tight end position?
I mean, so considering how bad it was last year, 100's the floor.
Yeah.
I'm saying I project it's probably more like 120 to 130.
didn't they draft a second one too?
They did not.
I don't think they did.
Okay, I thought maybe they did.
And then, so Akins, if you're looking for a second guy who might be viable as a rookie,
Akins is
the guy.
it. Yeah.
He just lands in the spot where if he can win the job over Steven Anderson, he should get 75 plus targets.
Yeah.
I just love how both old receivers get drafted.
Old tight ends.
Old tight ends get drafted in the good spots.
Apparently, the NFL GMs do not care as much about age as we did in our initial discussions.
I've been hearing that though. They don't give a fuck about age.
Yeah.
I suppose that for a lot of these guys, you just run them through the rookie contract and kick them to the curb. So what the fuck do you care?
Yeah. It's a true story. It's the next team's problem.
Yeah, or his problem because he won't get a second contract.
Especially for guys like him. And, well, if he performs, he'll get a second
They
contract.
drafted
at 30.
Jordan Thomas in the 6th round.
Oh, they did.
You didn't watch him, so I don't really care.
He's from
Just saying.
he's what, Mississippi State.
Yes.
He didn't really project as a catching tight end.
no,
anyway.
he's more of a blocking tight end.
Yep.
So yeah, he won't affect the. It's going to come down to
I
Steven
just
Anderson
want to
and Jordan
find more
Akins.
reasons I don't want to draft Jordan Akins. That's all.
Unfortunately,
I know.
Just based on landing spot,
I know.
He has to rise almost as much as anybody.
I know.
So yeah, that's kind of a somber note for these two. I'm a little bit more optimistic, and I had him higher ranked just because I thought he could be fantasy relevant, and he's landed in the spot where that can happen now.
It's not really somber for me. I like seeing tight ends that could actually be relevant because it's not a common thing.
Yeah, I just didn't want to see a 26-year-old tight end land here.
Hey,
that's all.
just don't love it.
That's all. It's not Jordan Akins' fault that he's old.
Well, he played 4 years of minor league baseball.
So it's a little bit of his fault that he's old. I'm just saying.
But yeah, I mean, I actually like this more for redraft than dynasty. I'm probably not going to be real invested
This is
in him.
actually a good redraft.
But
I
we may
get
have
it.
another fantasy relevant tight end, which is always a good thing.
True.
All right. Well, that is it for this week. Next week, we'll be back covering day 3. We're not sure if we're going to squeeze in UDFA or not because we have a crap ton of players to cover through rounds 4 through 7. We're going to kind of take a look at the numbers and play with it. So we might push UDFA signings to the Monday after. So it's going to be 2 or 3 more episodes of draft recap for you guys, and then we'll go ahead and finish up all of that and start moving into divisional breakdowns and other things that we cover in the offseason, getting ready for the regular season of the NFL. Thank you so much for listening. You can catch us at BeerFueledFF on Twitter, at BeerFueled Fantasy Football on YouTube. Individually, I'm at Nick Sparts. Christopher Hopper is to my left.
At Hot BFF with 2 Ps.
Across the table is Dan Thury.
At 30 BFF with 2 Fs.
Thanks so much for listening in, and we'll catch you guys next time on Beer Fueled Fantasy Football.
See ya.
Peace.